What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. The Dune Buggy is boosted, and today in this episode we're gonna take it for its first drive. Super excited. We're actually about to start it up, but before we start this thing up, I want to show you guys everything we've done the past week and get you guys all caught up. Oh, by the way, Justin's with us today.
I'm adopted. Woo!
By me, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Slash Zach.
For another 10 days.
Yeah, until he goes back to where he comes from.
Yeah.
We didn't film a lot of it because we were focusing on getting it done. So I guess we'll start with the header. We got the header back on there. It's missing a few bolts. We need to go find those bolts. But we actually painted the exhaust ricer red. I think it's orange technically.
Orange, definitely orange.
Yeah. Right now we still have the stock O2 sensor hooked up. We may install a wideband O2 sensor in a future video, but for right now we're just gonna run with the stock O2 sensor, whatever the hell that is. Moving over to the turbo here. If this is the first video you guys are watching, this is a KO3 turbo, and as you can probably tell, it is crooked. That was not my fault or his fault.
Nope, not mine. It's Zach's.
That was technically, it was a group mess up done by your boys, Joe and Zach. So shout out to Joe and Zach for mounting the turbo crooked. What?
Like, it wouldn't be Novice Garage if it was straight, let's be honest. It has to be crooked.
Yeah, true. Hopefully the turbo does not leak any oil. We got a banjo bolt set up right there. We're not using steel braided lines because, guys, this build, as is with every build we have on this channel, they're all budget orientated. So we've spent less than, I want to say, definitely less than $1,000 on this build. We'll do another video where we figure out the grand total of how much we spent on it, but it wasn't that much considering boosting stuff's usually pretty expensive.
Oh, it's very expensive, absolutely.
And before I go any farther, warning you guys right now, this setup has a lot of ghetto rigging. It could be done way better, but again, this build is budget oriented. So with that said, let's continue. So the first really sketchy thing on this build, not that sketchy, but not done correctly, the flange. So we made probably 3 different flanges, and as you can see, 2 of the holes mounted up, the other one didn't. Now, we should have gone online and found a flange, but we couldn't find one on eBay, so we had to make our own. So I came up with the idea of actually welding part of it for reinforcement to the exhaust flange. So it's going to leak a little bit, but that's okay because we really cannot push much boost without blowing this engine up. So we'll see how bad that leaks. But as you can see, it's pretty flush. We made sure both bolts were tightened before we welded it together. And again, this is Novice Garage. Any guesses on the boost?
I want to say like, well, 6 pounds.
Joe Googled it. A stock KO3 on, like, I think it was like a Volkswagen, was around 7 to 8. So
okay,
you're pretty close.
Yeah, so I feel like 6 is around the right number.
Yep. So that's the turbo and the exhaust. The next thing was the oil feed line. We haven't really started it up yet, but we've turned the engine over, and as soon as we turned it over, oil spewed out everywhere. So we had to fix that. That was a problem with the banjo bolt. But the next issue was the oil line was not restricted at all. So for the feed, we're using oil sandwich plate, which you can see right down there. That has 2 ports coming off of it. We're not exactly sure what the pressure of that oil is coming out of that line, but as soon as we turned it over, it spewed everywhere. So we decided it was definitely time to put a restrictor on there. We went to Ace Hardware, couldn't find anything. The cheapest one we could get online was like 20 bucks. So we decided to make our own. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, may be the first time this has been done on YouTube. We've made an adjustable oil feed line. I'm not sure exactly what you would call this, but it's basically just a needle valve that's adjustable. You can turn this. It's actually pretty hard to turn, but you can turn that to adjust it. And yeah, we have 2 barb fittings, and we just put it right in between the oil feed line. So now, basically, if the turbo is smoking, we can go back and adjust that as needed. So that's pretty cool. And again, hopefully it doesn't leak.
Leak, blow up, I mean, who knows?
Yep. Okay, so next up was the oil drain. I know in the previous video we got a ton of comments about how we're gonna blow this engine up because we drilled into the oil pan without removing the oil pan, and a lot of y'all were saying the oil shavings are going to get into the engine, get into the cylinders, whatever. It's gonna destroy the engine. So far so good. We've only turned it over a few times. We changed the oil, we flushed some oil through the block. From what we could see, not that many shavings actually fell into the pan. Actually, barely any shavings came out whenever we drained the oil out. After we drive it for a little bit, we're also gonna go and change the oil again. Any shavings that were to remain, they're gonna get caught more than likely in the oil filter. So, and the reason why we didn't take the pan off, just like the Miatas, the pan is directly over the frame, so we'd actually have to remove the engine completely, and we don't have a hoist right now. So, and for any of y'all that are wondering, this method where you drill the pan while it's still on the car is very common in the boosted Miata world. I've done it multiple times on my own Miata, so it's not like we were just the first ones to do that. But anyways, oil drain, drains there, and as you can see, the turbo is right up there. Okay, next up was intercooler. We're not using one.
There's no need for one.
There's no need for one. So we literally went on Amazon and we got this guy right here. It was like $85. We just got an intercooler piping kit without the actual intercooler and threw it on there. Literally, this was the easiest intake setup of all time. Let me show you guys real quick. All we had to do was take 2 pieces from the kit, cut a little bit off this one. That one we didn't have to modify at all, and it just shoots over. The turbo is right down there. It comes up, and bam, it goes right into the intake. Okay, fueling. So at the moment, we're just using an adjustable FPR. Don't know how well this is gonna work. Well, I guess we'll find out. And this is actually one of the problems we need to fix before we go drive it today. It should be really easy. We're actually getting a fuel leak from these lines right here. They're just kind of loose. You can actually see it dripping right now, so I had to put this bucket underneath it to trap.
It's dripping from here and here.
Yeah.
So
this should help with not running too lean.
do we have any way of tuning it?
Do we have any way of tuning it?
Yep.
Besides the FPR and adjusting the boost, that's about it.
How do you adjust the boost on this turbo, Gabe?
So we actually do not have a boost controller. We may get one in a future video. You can adjust the wastegate pressure somewhat by adjusting this arm, but for right now, our Google search told us that it's about 7 PSI, which would be really interesting, and I think it's not gonna blow up, hopefully.
I don't think it will. No, we've put this thing through hell, dude. Like, not more than Miata, but
yeah.
put it through hell.
And guys, as soon as this thing blows up, we're gonna be swapping in something even better. This is a Chinese motor, so we're not too worried about it. It's not worth much.
You know what I'm thinking?
What's up?
Like a Honda Civic motor, like
Honda Civic?
like a B16.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
So then we could put Honda on.
Yeah, Honda, and then we could put like a turbo, like a big turbo on there, and it would just run insane. It'd probably like make like 300 wheel horsepower. It'd be nuts. You'd probably boil these axles off. So when you do stuff like that, you have to completely rebuild everything.
So besides fixing the FPR, the only other 2 things we need to do that I can see at the moment is make a downpipe. We don't have one made yet, and as you can see, our V-band has been made inoperable because the bolts actually block the V-band from clamping on correctly, so we need to figure that out. And we also have a little exhaust mount where the stock muffler bolted up to. We're gonna weld a support from that to there somewhere, maybe on the exhaust, because the turbo is not extremely heavy, but it is putting some weight on that exhaust and we're worried about it cracking. So that's gonna come in the future. Pretty much sums up everything we've done the past week. Let's go ahead and fix that fuel leak and let's take it for the first drive. Let's do it. Woo! Alright, we got extra clamps on the fuel hoses and so far they're not leaking. So it's time for the first start. I'm excited. First startup with the turbo on. Let's do it. What do you think is gonna happen?
I think it's gonna make some really cool noises. That's what I think.
Let's pray for choo-choo noises and not knock-knock noises. Let's go. Turbo Dune Buggy in 3, 2, 1. Yes!
The fan is spinning, the turbo is working.
Dude. No leaking, no knocking. Let's go ahead and pull it out to the driveway.
Cut it.
Right in the face.
Oh, bro. Had a 93 octane taste.
Not good.
You feel faster?
No. Where'd it come from?
It was fine until you started touching it and it spilled fuel everywhere.
Let me go wash my face off.
Yeah. There was a small leak. Gabe touched the hose and it spit fuel all over his face. Oh yeah. The leak's coming straight from the fuel filter.
Yeah, so those lines are pretty old and we haven't replaced them. And when you mix in the factor that they're old and we're also using an additional fuel pressure regulator, it's increasing the pressure within the lines, so I don't think the lines can take it.
No.
So-
You got fuel on your glasses, buddy.
He didn't get it on. No, this is water.
Oh, it's water?
I washed
Okay,
them all.
okay, good. Okay, I thought that was fuel.
Of course, he doesn't get it on camera, but like as soon as I'm looking at it and like moving it a little bit, it goes shh.
Oh, he drank gasoline.
Geyser.
He drank 93
Bro.
octane gasoline. He's probably gonna run a lot faster now. He's gonna set a world record.
Yeah, I know. I'm about to like mutate into Hulk or something. But yeah, so I think we need to run to AutoZone real quick and get some brand new, fresh, high pressure fuel line and throw it on. So
Yep, and after that we should be good to go. In theory.
in theory.
In theory.
It runs though.
This is Novice
runs.
Garage. This is Novice Garage. Nothing ever works the first time, or the second time, maybe the third time.
Probably not gonna be crazy fast, but as long as it's faster than it was before and it makes mad choo-choo noises, I'm happy.
So far, no mad choo-choo noises, but it might be different when we're driving it, because you know how turbos spool up more as you're driving it. So we'll see.
All right, we got the new fuel lines on, 100%, all the way, new fuel lines. Hopefully this works. Let's start it up and see if it leaks.
Yeah, we lost about half the fuel in this process and ran to AutoZone, what, 3 times?
Yes.
For fuel lines?
All that is gas right there.
I'm checking all of them now. All right, you're good. No leaks. Oh, it's spooling. That makes cool noises! Oh yeah. It sounds good! It's definitely faster. It's faster. It's so much better! It's so sketchy! Jesus Christ!
Justin pissed off the truck behind us really, really bad. This is not good.
They're just mad that we're boosted.
Hi! You like our turbo?
Hi!
We just got done turboing it. So we're testing out and have a little bit fun with it.
I used to have one of those.
Yeah.
This is much better.
Do you live on our street? Oh! Oh shit, hi!
Zach's making friends. Zach's having a full conversation with the lady in the seat.
She's our neighbor.
We finally met our first neighbor. Yay.
Hi!
Oh man.
Is somebody order an Uber?
It sounds so good from the outside.
Oh, it's so good.
It sounds so good. All right, guys, we made it back to the house. It's good. It's boosted.
Carl, the Dune Buggy is turbo now.
It's amazing. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's probably the funnest thing I've ever driven in my life.
Yeah.
And I own a motorcycle.
Yeah, and like all the work we put into it, everybody working on it, just made it so much freaking worth all that time we put into this thing.
Yep.
It's a blast. It's a lot
Quite
of fun.
surprised on how much noise that thing makes. It's
Yeah,
insane.
That little turbo.
Yeah, it's insane. And
Yeah.
it pops and crackles and makes all kind of
all the good stuff. Yeah.
We gotta make an exhaust for it. We also need to make a snorkel for it so we can go in knee-deep water. More like boob-deep water.
how big boobs?
All right, guys.
Thank you for watching.
See y'all next time.